Broadcasting from beautiful Leesburg, Virginia. Welcome to the Music Educator podcast, bringing you tips, tricks, and practical advice that you can use tomorrow. Here's your host and fellow music educator, Bill Stevens.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Music Educator podcast. My name is Bill Stevens. I'm super excited that you're with me today. And in Season 2, Episode 16, we are going to talk about understanding the trumpet mouthpiece. Hold on, here we go. A huge factor in determining the success of your trumpet player's performing potential is subject to their choice in mouthpieces. Elements such as the rim, cup, throat, shank, and backbore influence what the mouthpiece is capable of doing. And the mouthpiece construction of metal and plastic contributes to the overall playing quality of the trumpet's sound. And if you consider the possible combinations of how these elements may be combined, you have thousands of options. This choice in mouthpieces is essential in the advancement of a trumpet player's growth and should be decided based upon the demands of the player. Let's talk about the rim. The rim is the portion of the mouthpiece that a trumpet player's lips touch. The design should give the player maximum comfort while playing the instrument. An essential element about rims is that the more rounded they are, the more flexibility they generally provide. The downside to this is that a rounded rim typically reduces a player's endurance. In contrast, a flat rim gives the player a more definitive termination point for articulation. In other words, the vibration of the lips creates a prompt attack. Also, a flat rim may provide a more brilliant tone. The downside to this style of rim includes the fact that the embouchure will grip the mouthpiece more and limit flexibility. The cup. The lips and airstream come into contact with the cup. There are two primary considerations when regarding mouthpiece cups, and these include the cup's diameter and depth. If a trumpet player chooses to use a cup that has a large diameter and depth, the capacity to create a full resonant tone is possible, and I suggest using a large mouthpiece cup as long as it doesn't impede your poise and control. Larger cup diameters allow for a greater area for the lip surface vibrations, which amplifies the volume of the tone, whereas a deeper cup enables the trumpet player to play with a more resonant timbre. And playing on a larger cup also requires more embouchure muscle control, and the con is that the player may feel a lack of security in the upper ranges. And once you have made adjustments, there is a sense of freedom or quality in the tone production. Unlike other instrument mouthpiece changes, trumpet players do not need to work toward playing a larger mouthpiece size gradually. Changes and choices should be suited to the specific mouthpiece. The throat and throat shoulder. Next in the linear progression of the trumpet mouthpiece is the throat, or otherwise known as the orifice. And the throat is the most narrow portion of the device. It is the passage between the throat shoulder and the backbore. The throat is the most narrow portion of the device. It is the passage between the throat shoulder and backbore. Throats that are too narrow will restrict tone in the upper ranges. Small throats tend to flatten high notes and sharpen low notes, and as a result, the physical shape and interaction of the airstream going through the mouthpiece influences this response. In contrast, large throats create full resonant tones. Unfortunately, large throats come with some problems of their own, and these problems include difficulty in maintaining control of very soft dynamics. Also, greater physical demands are placed on the player's embouchure. Now, the length of the throat also has issues. A long throat increases the resistance of the mouthpiece. Similar to having a small throat, a long throat has a compression effect in which high notes tend to be flat and low notes tend to be sharp. The location of where the bottom of the cup enters the throat is called the throat shoulder, and the throat shoulder influences the tone quality and resistance of the mouthpiece. Rounded shoulders tend to create a more resonant tone in contrast to one that is a sharper throat shoulder. The backbore. The backbore of a mouthpiece will have a significant impact on tone quality and intonation. A backbore is the inner metal wall of the lengthy portion of the mouthpiece, and several issues occur as a result of an undesirable backbore. First, small backbores create a stuffy and bright tone quality. Also, notes in the upper register tend to be flat. In contrast, backbores tend to be open and typically have weak resistance. Additionally, this leads to notes that lack in tonal center. In contrast, backbores that tend to be open typically have weak resistance. Additionally, this leads to notes that lack a tonal center. And as a result, the player's embouchure will tire quickly. The shank. Trumpet players use what's called a Morse taper number 1. And the shank is the slight taper used at the end of the mouthpiece so that it will fit into the receiver of the trumpet. The measurement is 0.050 of an inch per inch of length. And if this measurement is not correct, whether the mouthpiece is too long or the receiver is too short, the mouthpiece will not fit securely. Additionally, any foreign debris or dirt that gets into the mouthpiece may also hinder the security and performance clarity of the player. Plating. Now, typically, trumpet mouthpieces have a metal plating. The most common plating is silver. When this plating gets worn, it can be replated with a variety of metals by a skilled repairman or manufacturer. And some players may be exposed to worn plating, which can result in fever blisters or cold sores. Others may be allergic to different types of plating metals and will need an alternate material to come into contact with. Many players enjoy using gold-plated mouthpieces. It tends to provide the player with a softer and warmer feel. Plastic mouthpieces. An alternative to metal mouthpieces include the use of plastic or lucite mouthpieces. These plastic devices are best when you are playing in cold outdoor venues. And typically, plastic mouthpieces are not the highest quality mouthpieces. However, they do help you avoid playing on cold metal mouthpieces that may remove chunks of skin from the lip and cause other musical problems. Beginner mouthpieces. It is easy for beginner trumpet players to get confused due to a large number of mouthpiece options, and my recommendation is for beginner trumpet players to start on a Bach 7C or a Schilke 11. Each of these mouthpieces possess a uniformly built and excellent balance of proportional qualities. Final thoughts. In conclusion, the trumpet mouthpiece is a pivotally important piece of equipment for the musician. It influences the performance of a player through its wide array of potential designs. The construction material, whether it's metallic or plastic, may have a physical effect on players. And understanding the elements of the design, such as the rims, the backbores, throats, and shanks, are essential to customizing the ideal trumpet sound you want. That's all we have for today, everyone. Hope you have a fantastic day. See ya.
Thank you for listening to the Music Educator podcast for the latest tips, tricks, and practical advice you can use tomorrow. You can subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. Please visit the Music Educator blog at www.forthemusiceducator.com for additional posts and music education news. As always, join in the discussion and let your voice be heard by providing feedback at www.forthemusiceducator@gmail.com or leave a Google voicemail at 703-942-9883. We will see you on the next episode of the Music Educator podcast, and remember, music can change the world.